So if you could just situate this series in your practice or in your work, or
Okay, well, in some ways this series started out almost completely outside my main work, which was figure drawings, figure paintings, large figure paintings. I was, for a long time I've been working on using the figure techniques of the old masters and stuff, to say stuff about contemporary life. Then at one stage I started making kind of cartoon-like drawings of strange vehicles, which was kind of quite liberating from all the other work that I'd been doing. So I sort of let that, kind of carried on with that a bit, and then became more serious. When I began to reflect on the fact that, well, we're now in the 21st century, which for me as a kid was always put forward as this kind of wonderland place that we're going to arrive at one day. So here we are in the early 21st century, and all the kind of future dreams that we were given as kids and TV shows and things, all the kind of fantastic vehicles that we see in those programs, they never came. Contemporary car design is all not even as interesting as cars from the 1970s to me, and certainly not as interesting as the science fiction TV shows you were seeing then. So all this stuff is partly a kind of reflection on that disappointment, but it's also a reflection on the awkward kind of mess which is our relationship to machinery and technology, in the 21st century, in that all the environmental problems, blah, 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 the fact that we're running out of fuel, that cities are heading toward log jam, the fact that to maintain our fleets of vehicles and machinery we have to, so we're told, and I guess it's true, exploit the third world and make slaves out of them. They need to die in order that we can drive cars. It seems to be the setup that we're in. Well, that's what we are told. So all of this stuff is piled in to this. So this one is an attempt to kind of show the entire system of the developed world exploiting the developing world. Like here we are, there we are, sort of stealing petrol. There's a kind of modern department store in here. So that's part of it, that's the kind of social side of it, that's the kind of Goya-esque social commentary thing that I wanted to put into it. Because I've also been in love with science fiction illustration since I was a kid. And when I was a child, that was all I would do, was draw futuristic machines. So I in fact have already got an inbuilt massive vocabulary for all these textures and things. And when I go to a Hollywood movie or see some science fiction illustration, I'm usually disappointed in it, because since after Star Wars or whatever, it's all been a repetition of that kind of design ethic. There's nowhere for them to go. So I'm talking now about just a kind of visual thrill. I'm talking about that, which I think I hope these drawings do, and that's also what I was wanting to do. Just do something that no one's seen before, which is really thrilling to look at. Which early science fiction illustration used to do that for me in the 70s, but now it's all just a repetition of that formula. So these things attempt to kind of break out of the formulaic dead end, which I would say that a lot of science fiction imagery has gotten into. And now to do that, I bring in my other big love or influence, which is surrealism, absurdism. As I was planning these, I kind of realised, well, yes, no one has really done that, well, not that I've seen. Take the science fiction language and just rip it apart and make it into a kind of surrealistic extravaganza. So in making these, I wanted them to look like first sight like some science fiction image, but then on closer inspection to realise that none of this could possibly ever be used to go on the front of a science fiction paperback or appear in a science fiction movie. When I was working on designs for this, anything that looked like it was logical or functional enough or cool enough to be in a science fiction movie, then I would scrap it. Sometimes that was a problem because there's a really delicate balance in all of these between making machines which look kind of impressive and pathetic and useless and perverted. So I didn't want them to look too useless or too comic. Getting the tone right on this was very hard. That's why each drawing was took about a month to do. The balance between the absurd and the functionality was very hard to strike. You have to look in a way that they could work, but then when you look closer, you see that all of them are completely impossible, that if you built them, well, you would be insane to build them, and that's kind of another part of the social message, to reflect perhaps the impossibility of what we're trying to achieve with our technological aspirations. I mean, global warming and the fuel running out was also another thing in reality which was informing these, so they're kind of metaphors for the paralysis that we might be heading towards. Maybe the global warming thing isn't, maybe it's not going to happen because there's a lot of skepticism about that now, but some of these things, well, at least if they capture the kind of hysteria or the fear, that we had at the time, or whatever, that's all right. These they look kind of negative or anti-techno, but they're actually just reflecting those fears about where we're ultimately heading with it. Maybe in another 100 years' time it'll all be great and we will have flying silver hover cars and all the fuel that we need, and there won't be any environmental problems. And maybe then people might look back on this and say, what was this? This work was just a lot of alarmist nonsense.
So
but that's okay, because we look back at Bruegel and nobody says, well, we don't believe in hell, so why is this painting of hell of any use to us? I mean, it captured something that was in the psychology of humanity at the time. So I hope these do.
There is one thing that I like to do when I do these interviews, and that is, as I work a lot with the public, so I show people the work, I explain, and then people come up with questions and they say, why is it so small? Why doesn't he make it big? Or why is it like this or not like that? And what I'm trying to put together is a catalogue of questions of the artist to the people.
Yeah.
So if you can come up with one question, I'd be happy.
What, a question to the people?
Yeah, I mean, any...
What about their response to this, to my work?
It can relate to your work or be much more general. I mean, an artist's work is not so much about picking a size, a format, or a choice of color or medium or things like that, but it's about something else. So...
a question I would ask them?
Yeah.
Gosh, difficult, very difficult to answer. You'll have to stop the camera while I think.
Shall I stop it? Okay.
Okay. So people have asked me what all the crosses are about and whether I believe the Western powers are engaged in another crusades. And this does look very much like it's about that, because there's a big Western type machine with saints here. Fuel pipes here taking oil from this Arabian country. But actually, I see a subtle difference, which is simply what I'm really getting at is the way the Western countries can only elect leaders who say they're Christian and believe in God. You know, if you're in America and you're an atheist, you don't stand a chance in hell. Even in England, I should think you wouldn't stand a chance of getting elected, if you said you were an atheist. So therefore, all these people are saying they believe in God and Christ and the rest of it. And then the way they go about in the world doesn't reflect very much imitation of the life of Christ. So that kind of hypocrisy, it's just about that hypocrisy. That's what the cross is about. And that's it.
That's it? All right.